I just want to be different, no one can guess what I want to do, the more mysterious the stronger. Recommend my 3 million word boutique book. I am hosted by the system, keywords of the novel. Mystery makes me powerful without pop-ups, mystery makes me powerful. Download the complete TXT collection, Mystery Makes Me Powerful. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Mysteries Make Me Strong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Mysteries Make Me Strong. The city is bustling with traffic. Singing and dancing are smooth, and the undercurrent is surging. In a bustling commercial area in Dongshui City, there is a commercial building called Meilong. The ground floor is a densely populated ordinary shop, and on the 12th floor, there is a company called Jianxing Club. Wen Rensheng, who is just 20 years old this year, has been attending this club for 3 years while others are still in college. He has an excellent position and an enviable income. That morning, in the underground parking lot of the commercial building, there was a blue and black sedan. Brotherly, it's still the same. Pick me up from work at 2 p.m. this afternoon, Wen Rensheng said to the front driver, taking a look at his appearance today through the rearview mirror. As usual, it's still in its prime, with starry eyebrows and beautiful eyes, and perfect facial features. In any TV series or film, it's a standard non-routine template, and it's impossible to fail in just 3 episodes. If you fail in just 3 episodes, you're also sorry for the cost. That's enough. Okay, Mr. Wenren. In the driver's seat, a middle-aged man with a thick face responded and got off the car, bowing down to open the rear door for him. Upon hearing this, Ren Xing immediately got off the car and glanced at the driver who had been serving him for 3 years. His eyes lit up slightly, and a message flashed through. Li Shuangyue. Mystery level 0/1. Well, everything is normal. After getting off the car, he took a few turns and slowly walked up the stairs that led straight to the 12th floor. If unnecessary, do not take the elevator. At around 9 o'clock, occasionally some staff members appeared in the stairwell, passing by him in a hurry, with a hint of fatigue and drowsiness in their eyebrows. Only he walked slowly up the stairs, relaxed and composed. Good morning, manager. Suddenly, a crisp female voice came from behind him. Upon hearing this, she turned her head and saw a young girl with an appearance of about 7 points or more. She had a melon seed face, straight facial features, short black hair, eyebrows and bangs, full of energy, and was about 1.6 meters tall near her shoulder. He blinked and a string of information flashed in his eyes again. Zhao Han. Mystery. September 9th. Mysterious composition. Unknown. His expression remained unchanged, but he nodded slightly and said, It's Zhao Han, early morning. After greeting, the two climbed the stairs side by side. Upon hearing Rensheng not speak again, the atmosphere felt a bit awkward for a moment. After waiting for a while, Zhao Han seemed to muster up some courage and took the initiative to say, Does Manager Wen usually come to the company at this time? Wen Rensheng nodded again. Zhao Han felt a bit embarrassed and continued, I heard that there have been many cases in the West District in the past month, and the motive for the crimes is to kill people impulsively due to anger. Oh, did you kill someone out of anger? Hearing this, his footsteps slowed down. Yeah, Zhao Han heard this and noticed that the other party seemed to be interested, so he said enthusiastically, There is a case where a husband killed his wife in anger because his wife is gambling, there is a case where his wife cheated on her husband, and there is another case where he had an argument on the bus and was stabbed with a knife. There have been more than 20 incidents in the West District this month, but most of them have not been disclosed. Starting in the 20s. That's a bit frequent, when Rensheng frowned slightly. Zhao Han nodded repeatedly, with a visible worry on his face. So, in our city, the security was originally good. Although it has a large population and is a first-tier city, the total number of ordinary homicide cases in a year is only 40.50. Now there are more than 20 outbreaks in a month, and there must be mysterious factors involved. It's really worrying. I don't know if the culprit is hiding around us. When Rensheng didn't respond anymore, as if he was lost in thought. That's right, the two of them work in a mysterious field. A gray area that ordinary people cannot confront, but it is also an industry that stands at the top of the pyramid in this world. The two of them climbed the stairs while talking, and soon arrived at the club on the 12th floor. At the entrance of the staircase, there was a blue sign hanging with the name Tianqing Club, which looked ordinary. The two of them were at the entrance of the stairs, checked their fingerprints and pupils, opened the access control, and walked inside. After entering, there is a long corridor ahead, with marble tiles and pure white walls, all of which make people feel that this is an ordinary company. Using the staircase as the dividing point, there are separate rooms on the left and a large hall surrounded by glass walls on the right, with office desks placed inside. At the end of the corridor is the corner, which is a circular corridor with an elevator shaft and other public facilities in the middle, and office rooms on all sides. After entering the corridor, the two of them nodded at Zhao Han and walked to the left when they heard Rensheng, while the other stood still and watched him leave before heading towards the hall on the right. Upon hearing this, I arrived at the third room on the left, with a sign hanging on the door. Project Center Manager's Office. On the door, there was a vast and boundless poster of the starry sky, seemingly indicating that the owner of the room had the courage to embrace the universe. He pressed the fingerprint lock and opened the door. Inside, there was a large office desk, a sofa, and a coffee table. In addition, there was a separate bathroom that was well decorated. The window is bright and clean, and the air is fresh. A basin of chlorophytum comosum is placed on the desk, emitting a green smell. In one corner of the desk, there is a steaming paper basket with a bowl of golden millet porridge, a stack of refined salted vegetables, and a basket of delicate steamed buns. After hearing someone sit at their desk, they open their laptop and tune into a newly released anime. Then they pick up the steamed buns from the paper basket and start eating while watching. Oh, it's good. The breakfast made by Xiao Qing is still so terrible. The rice porridge is burnt, the pickles are hard to eat, and the stuffing of steamed buns is really bitter and astringent. I wonder if she has tried it herself after cooking it. His face remained unchanged, secretly savoring. In the eyes of outsiders, he is currently a middle-level employee in a company that is fishing in troubled waters, not only eating during working hours, but also chasing dramas. However, no one knew that although his eyes were fixed on the lively and humorous anime, his pupils had slightly lost focus, and some strange and chaotic information was quickly flashing through his mind. You calmly ate a mysterious dark dish, and your current mystery level has been restored by 1. Your mysterious resistance has slightly increased. The mysterious seed. Location. Portable. Mystery. 95, current value, /100, upper limit value. Mysterious composition. First, the memory of a different world has an upper limit of +50, second, the supernatural power has an upper limit of +30, third, the mysterious cognition has an upper limit of +20. Function. 1. Passive increase of 100% in all mysterious fields effects. 2. Consuming mystery can additionally enhance the effect of mysterious skills, increasing by 1% per point. That's right, when Rensheng is not a person from this world. He has been in this world for 3 years, and this world is very similar to his previous life, whether it is in economics, technology, or military. The only difference is that there is an infiltration of mysterious fields here. In his past life, he was just an ordinary person, with an ordinary life, an ordinary end, an ordinary life, some regrets, but no tragedy. In this life, he discovered that he could live more brilliantly and hope for more possibilities in life, and all he had to do was make himself more mysterious. The more mysterious he was, the stronger he became. Making various mysterious behaviors that others cannot comprehend can restore his current level of mystery, while exploring and delving deeper into the mysterious realm can increase the upper limit of mystery. This is the basic usage he has excavated for the mysterious seed of his golden finger within 3 years. The plot continued to play on the computer, while he was reliving some mysterious knowledge he had memorized from staying up late last night and organizing information in his mind. Among his extraordinary powers, there are 3 mysterious skills in his realm. Extraordinary physique, medium, mysterious resistance, medium, and extraordinary memory, initial. Among them, extraordinary memory, although only beginner level, can achieve the advanced effect in advance by increasing its effect by 100%. Quickly browsing a large amount of knowledge and being able to remember it at a glance. This skill has many benefits, such as saving vision and achieving fast memory. However, for others, the primary effect of this skill is that memory can only be improved from being a poor student to a top student, which is still within the understanding range of ordinary people. To advance to a higher level that ordinary people find incredible, it usually takes 3 to 5 years of dedicated research and hard training. When he had just finished watching a short 24-minute video, someone suddenly pushed the door in. This is a girl, about 20 years old, with 2 slender fried dough twists braids hanging in front of her flat chest, wearing a pair of large black-framed wide-rimmed glasses, wearing clothes that are not very fashionable at the moment, blue and white striped jacket, dark and black pants, and declaring a word to others from inside to outside. Earth. Most of the girls' faces are covered by black frame glasses and fried dough twists braids. The only bright spot is probably that the skin is very white, as if it has not seen the sun for a long time. After the girl came in, she didn't say a word, just cleaned up the breakfast that when Rensheng had finished, put it in a paper basket, poured him a glass of water, and then turned around and left. When Rensheng didn't get up, just smiled and said, "Thank you, Xiaoqing. The breakfast I made is still as good as before." The girl's shoulder twitched slightly, but she didn't turn her head, but finally spoke up, "Fake. No, I'm telling the truth. I've always been an honest person," when Rensheng replied seriously. The girl wanted to say something more, but she heard a clang sound from behind, as if it was the sudden pouring of a freshly poured water cup. "That's great, the laptop is broken, it can add some GDP to this city." When Rensheng tidied up the black screen laptop and said without any frustration. The girl's mouth slightly curled up and she hummed, "Stop following dramas. Others use your time reading novels, videos, and even sleeping for cultivation and learning. Teacher AI once said, success is 99% sweat plus 1% inspiration, but 1% inspiration is the most important. In your eyes, I am wasting time, but in reality, I am capturing inspiration." When Rensheng said seriously. Bored. The girl ignored him no longer and went out directly. When Rensheng looked at the empty office and shook his head, saying, "Actually, what I said is true." At this moment, new streams of information continued to emerge in his mind. Your behavior has left the same level of extraordinary beings puzzled, with a current level of mystery of +1. Wei Yiqing. Mysterious, /. Mysterious composition. Seeds of misfortune. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Extraordinary memory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Extraordinary memory. Upon hearing Rensheng push the broken notebook aside and prepare to find someone to repair it later, he leaned back on the boss's chair, seemingly closed his eyes and slacking off, but in reality, his mind was floating and he was thinking about things. The mysterious seed, the unlucky seed. Unexpectedly, he has been in a relationship with Wei Yiqing for more than 2 years. Apart from the other party's alien species, he still cannot know more about the other party's situation. He thought this way and began to recall some things in this world. Ordinary people who want to enter the mysterious world must activate a mysterious existence called alien in order to step out of the sturdy and constant physical world and enter the door of the mysterious world. The specific source of alien species is not yet known, and can only be determined. Every year, a very small number is randomly generated in certain areas. Each alien must be a master who meets specific conditions in order to activate and store it. Harvesting mutants, selecting the most suitable owner in a timely manner, and maintaining a spare tire list are the highest level of strategic projects in every country every year, and none of them. Without enough alien hosts, it is impossible to confront various mysterious events that emerge endlessly. No matter how powerful a country is, it will collapse in just a few decades. Despite the development of modern weapons, humanity itself is still fragile. 3 years ago, when he was a 17-year-old high school student, he stood out in the East Water City alien selection campaign and activated this mysterious species that had never been activated before. After activation, he finally understood the opponent's selection criteria, which were actually very simple and not as verbose as other seductive creatures. Basic mystery level of 50 points or above, and he couldn't have any other exotic aura. In fact, it can be summarized as a condition, an ordinary person with a basic level of mystery of 50 points. And for other activated mutants, as far as he knows, there are at least a dozen, at most 50 or 60. So much so that each qualified spare tire needs to be specially trained. However, just this one condition can shut out all ordinary people in this world. A person with 50 points of mystery cannot be an ordinary person, and an ordinary person must not have 50 points of mystery. This alien species has actually been harvested many years ago and has gone through many host selection activities. No one has successfully activated it, let alone like other seeds, which not only have the most suitable host, but also can cultivate many spare tires in a targeted manner. So when other species harvested at the same time had already followed their hosts and shone brightly, it was still making a quiet salted fish. And the bulk host selection event 3 years ago was still just a routine for the hosts, but unexpectedly it achieved an unintentional effect. This makes everyone exclaim, even if it's a salted fish seed, dreams must still exist. Isn't this realized? And when Rensheng, who activates this mysterious seed, will not reveal its true activation conditions, because it is a self-destruct. He only customized a few conditions based on his own factors that other ordinary people cannot achieve. Just as someone was reminiscing about the past, summarizing the present, and looking forward to the future, the office phone suddenly rang. He opened his eyes and looked up. It was already 11 o'clock in the morning. He reached out to pick up the office phone and heard Wei Yiqing's voice inside. "Well, I'll go over right away. Don't worry, it won't delay class. Old Wu will definitely have to delay the class again." He hung up the phone, tidied up his instruments, and then walked out of the office to the lobby door on the east side of the corridor. From the outside, the hall surrounded by glass walls has a clear view inside, resembling a high school classroom. The podium, blackboard. What's slightly different is the desk, not the student desk, but a spacious and comfortable office desk. At this time, there were already more than 20 people sitting neatly in the hall, including men and women, but most of them were women, accounting for about 70% or more, and each one had a relatively high appearance. At this moment, there was a plain-looking middle-aged man standing on the podium, with a dark skin and a strong physique. He often engaged in outdoor activities, and his narrow and long eyes were particularly lively. I have 2 more words to say. When it comes to cultivating a different species, all students must adhere to their true nature and not violate the conditions for choosing a different species master at that time. Not forgetting their original intention is the only way to remain true. Also, I would like to remind everyone that the 3-year heterologous host qualification assessment will begin in half a month. Please prepare in advance. Of course, if a lady or gentleman has received expert level evaluation, you can ignore my reminder. As a heterogeneous host, we have a high social status and excellent basic treatment, making us the most coveted talent for any country in the world and also facing the most intense competition. Sailing against the current, if you don't advance, you will retreat. If you are lazy, there will naturally be plenty of spare tires waiting for you to take over. Even if you don't have one today, there will still be one tomorrow. Anyone can turn this world away. Upon hearing someone rise outside the door and listen, he was speechless. Old Wu, taking the opportunity to satirize himself, was actually showing good intentions. He coughed, indicating his existence. The middle-aged man turned his head and glanced at him, finally stopping the conversation. Oh, okay, everyone. Now is the class time for Manager Wen Ren, and he will continue to teach you the mysterious skill of extraordinary memory. I hope someone can master it soon. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, teacher. Behind the desk, rows of students stood up neatly. The middle-aged man nodded and walked down the podium to the door, whispering to the listener, "Take it seriously. I teach twice a week for more than 4 months in a row, and no one has learned it yet. Be careful, your teaching allowance will be cancelled by Mr. Zhao." Upon hearing this, Ren Sheng remained indifferent and did not provide any explanation. He just brushed past the other person, walked up to the podium, and sat in the chair behind him. Then he glanced at the crowd and said, "All right, haste makes waste. We have been in class for 2 hours. Let's take a 10-minute break between classes and relax our minds before we talk." Before the words could be finished, a student in the back suddenly raised their hand. Upon hearing this, he looked over and saw a young man with a thin physique and straight facial features. He nodded and reached out to signal the other person to stand up. "Teacher Wen Ren, what you said is not right. Our time is very tight. After activating the alien species, everyone has a basic extraordinary physique, no longer those weak garbage mortals." The male student's face was very excited, and he said solemnly, "You let us rest for 10 minutes. There are 25 people here, which is 250 minutes. You are equivalent to murdering our 250-minute life." "Oh, you mean, don't you need to rest?" Wen Rensheng said indifferently as he looked at the other person so excited. "That's right. We are about to undergo the qualification assessment, and every minute we have now is precious to us. I believe that every student here will never be willing to become a mortal like a pig or sheep, born foolishly, and die foolishly." The male student shouted angrily, as if hearing someone ask them to rest for 10 minutes would cause him to fail in the next assessment. The students turned their heads to look at him. Some were very surprised, while others were lost in thought. For a moment, many people began to discuss in a low voice. "He's too brave to openly confront the teacher like this. Emotional intelligence is negative, right? Didn't he know that teacher Wen Ren is very likely to become the judge for the next qualification assessment? But what he said is quite reasonable. Every minute of class time is precious. I hired a private teacher, and it would cost me 30,000 yuan per hour. That person's level is a bit inferior to that of a knowledgeable teacher." When Rensheng didn't get angry, just scanned the other person's face. The other person's face quickly corresponded with the student's profile, and a new flow of information appeared in his eyes at the same time. Lu Jian. Mystery. 15 of 40. Mysterious composition. Seed of anger, extraordinary power, mysterious cognition. In the mysterious composition of Wen Rensheng, there is no mysterious seed itself, because it will exclude itself when calculating. In Lu Jian's mystery, 15 represents how much mystery remains unresolved, while 40 is the upper limit of mystery, which will also increase as the opponent's strength increases. Seeing this, he asked seriously, "What is your name, this new student?" Upon hearing this, Lu Jian replied with a righteous expression, "My name is Wang Jun." A few nearby classmates were stunned when they heard this, and their eyes widened. Is this one a fool? Does he think that if he uses a pseudonym, the teacher will even forget his face and voice? Don't forget what the other person is teaching now. Upon hearing this, I was relieved and nodded repeatedly, saying, "Although I will harshly criticize your unfair views on ordinary people, it is good that you dare to ignore authority and have the courage to express your own opinions. Courage is the cornerstone that ensures our continuous progress in the mysterious field." If I am the judge of the next qualification assessment, I will definitely give you extra points. Since that's the case, teacher, actually my name is Lu Jian, Lu Jianke continued. Everyone was immediately stunned. Get out. For the next 2 classes, stand outside and listen, Wen Rensheng waved expressionlessly. Upon hearing this, Lu Jian was delighted, but then a hint of doubt flashed on his face. He lowered his head and walked out of the classroom, standing outside the door. Wen Rensheng was too lazy to pay attention to this treasure, but he didn't let everyone rest anymore. He picked up chalk and quickly wrote and drew a lecture with illustrations on the blackboard, which quickly took shape. Before the formal lecture, I would like to ask, has anyone mastered this skill? He glanced at it, but no one raised their hand. Isn't anyone around yet? He shook his head, seeming a bit depressed. It seems that I'm still too young to be suitable for teaching and nurturing. Alright, after this class, I'll take the initiative to step down and let Mr. Zhao invite another talented person to come and teach everyone. Upon hearing this, most people's faces showed a hint of reluctance. A female student couldn't help but speak up, Teacher Wen, it's because we don't have enough qualifications to learn. Your teaching has made us progress in many aspects of the mysterious field. Yeah, this ability is already very difficult. Out of 100 alien activators, only 1 can learn it. This can't be blamed on the teacher, another boy pleaded. That's right, extraordinary memory may sound ordinary, but it is the cornerstone of the mysterious field of intelligence, with enormous practical value. Whether one can learn or not is solely due to personal reasons and has nothing to do with the teacher. Thank you for your persuasion, classmates, but now is a society where the outcome determines everything, and I have no choice, Wen Rensheng shook his head and said. At this moment, by the left window, a girl hesitated for a moment before finally raising her hand. Everyone quickly realized this and turned their heads one by one, secretly surprised that anyone could actually learn it. Wen Rensheng also looked up and saw that the person who raised her hand was a woman with long silver hair. Her face was smooth, her facial features were delicate, her appearance was dignified, her back was straight, and her eyes were pure, exuding a unique rational radiance. Activating a different species can change one's constitution, and hair color may also change accordingly. Not bad, Su Yinshuang, come to the podium and share your thoughts and experiences with everyone. Wen Rensheng didn't seem surprised and reached out to ask. Yes, teacher. Su Yinshuang stood up at the words and walked slowly towards the podium. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Flipping Brands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Flipping Brands. As they watched the other person step onto the podium, some students secretly envied. This is a genius student, no wonder the teacher can remember her name. Miss from the 5-colored group. We, as temporary hosts of commoners and mutants, are incomparable. Only by becoming experts in a certain branch field like Wen Ren teacher can we truly change our social class. Alas, work hard and strive to master 5 mysterious skills as soon as possible, forming a unique system that may pass the expert level qualification review. Amidst the chatter of the crowd, Su Yinshuang walked onto the podium with her shoulders and back straight, giving people an inexplicable sense of confidence and composure. Extraordinary memory, a fundamental skill in the mysterious field of intelligence, is indeed very difficult to master. We need to have a deep understanding of the physiological mechanisms of the human brain in order to accurately mobilize the power of different species in the body, strengthen the corresponding areas with targeted reinforcement, and through a large amount of repeated practice, let the different species form skill memory. If you don't have the first generation of mutants, but rather the second or multiple generations that already have this skill, mastering it will be much easier, but of course, there will also be some hidden dangers. I can now do it by reading a short article of about 200 to 300 words or 30 unrelated numbers, and then mechanically memorizing them. She spoke in detail and was very patient. So, could you please demonstrate it to us? Someone couldn't help but ask. Okay, please feel free to find an article or create some random numbers. Su Yunchuang did not refuse. Someone immediately said, "Well, that's it. 5 minutes ago, on the Alien Forum, a big V just posted a high authority post. The speaker is a girl with extremely high beauty, even surpassing Su Yunchuang by 1 point, short black hair, fair skin, a pair of narrow and agile eyes, and an excellent figure." After she finished speaking, before anyone could speak, she took out her own phone, walked up to the podium, handed it over, with a hint of cunning in her eyes. Su Yunchuang nodded and swiped the screen. After scanning for less than a minute, she handed her phone back and said, "Thank you, Wu Shanshan. I have finished reading it." Wu Shanshan took the phone and looked down at the article to verify it, saying, "Then you start memorizing it. Why do most mutants choose us women as their hosts?" According to scientific data statistics, gentle, kind, and good-looking humans are often more likely to choose through mutants. This tells us that not only the ordinary world looks at faces, but even the mysterious world. Su Yunchuang's voice was somewhat cold, accurately repeating each word. A few minutes later, Wu Shanshan could only nod and say, "All right, you really memorize every word perfectly." Then she looked up at Wen Renqing standing beside her, and a meaningful look drifted in her eyes. Upon hearing this, Renqing remained indifferent and simply applauded, saying, "Not bad. It seems that Su has put in a lot of effort and possesses the necessary qualifications. He is truly a top student who can be admitted to Aomori University. Now, 2 students, please return to your seats. I will continue to give you a lecture and answer your questions." 2 girls walked back to their seats one after another. At this point, students began to raise their hands and ask various questions they encountered in their daily lives, some of which were not limited to the scope of the skill. Wen Renqing did not distinguish, but answered each question one by one, and almost every questioner could achieve a sudden realization. His ability to achieve this is naturally related to the passive effect of the mysterious seed. The passive increase of 100% in the effect of the entire mysterious field not only refers to his 3 extraordinary skills, but also includes his teaching ability in the mysterious field. However, he has not yet refined this teaching ability into a unique mysterious skill. If extracted, it can be actively strengthened and further enhanced. This is one of the reasons why students do not want him to leave. Upon hearing this, one by one students were promoted to teach and finally came to Zhao Han's side. Zhao Han had a childish and uneasy expression on his face. "Zhao Han, I remember you were still a transfer student, right?" Wen Renqing said calmly. "Yes, teacher." Zhao Han quietly glanced at the classmates around him and realized that no one was paying attention. He quickly answered in a straight line. "Okay, before doing personal tutoring, you first need to talk about your understanding of the basics of the alien species." Wen Renqing carefully observed the other person, and what secrets could there be in her body. "Okay, teacher." Zhao Han desperately recalled, xenomorphs are the cornerstone and core of the mysterious realm, mainly divided into 2 categories. Emotional and rare. The power level of xenomorphs is generally evaluated using the 5-level and 3-stage method, which is entry level, proficient level, expert level, master level, and master level. Then each level is further divided into the initial, middle, and later stages, or similar terms. Do you know which level is referred to as the gateway for exotic cultivation? Wen Renqing asked. Zhao Han immediately replied, "Of course it's at the expert level. Everyone says gold expert, silver master, and becoming an expert is the only way to permanently possess the alien species. It's said that unless an individual voluntarily surrenders, it's difficult to be deprived by external forces. As for the reason, I don't know yet." As they were asking and answering, the voices of 2 other men talking could be heard outside the door. "Why are you standing outside?" "I just deceived the teacher, so I was fine to stand." "Nonsense, what a big person. Let's go in." Upon hearing this, Renqing turned his head and saw that it was old Wu who had left the previous class. At this moment, he had walked back, indicating that something was wrong. Lu Jian was looking at him, as if asking if he could go in. Upon hearing this, the person nodded and reached out to let the other person in. The other person then lowered their head and returned to their desk. Teacher Wu followed in and said to the crowd, "I'm sorry, students. A sudden incident just occurred and I need to borrow your teacher who heard of me. As for the missed class." "Wait, Lao Wu, what is the estimated difficulty of this incident so far?" When Rensheng interrupted the other party. "It should be at or above the level of proficiency, but not at the expert level," Teacher Wu thought for a moment and affirmed. "In that case, considering the excellent performance of some students, I will continue to select a few people to follow me for internships." Hearing this, Sheng smiled and turned to the others. "You're here again." Teacher Wu was somewhat dissatisfied, but when he turned his head, he saw that over 20 students were all eager to try. Everyone has learned it all the way, and many people are even attending high school and university, attending classes at the Tianqing Club, which belongs to the nature of attending professional tutoring classes. However, ordinary people learn piano, music, art, foreign languages. While they delve into mysterious fields, the cost-effectiveness is much higher than the former, and of course, the cost is also much higher. They naturally understand the difference between mechanical learning and practice. Many students can make rapid progress through hard work in regular exams, but after entering society, they often fall into confusion and cannot find ways to make rapid progress in uncertain environments. The teachers at the Tianqing Club who are willing to provide them with additional internship opportunities are only promoted after learning from others. The students all understand that this is because other teachers do not want to take responsibility. And this is also the second reason why they don't want to be promoted and leave. After glancing at the expected crowd, Teacher Wu didn't say anything to stop them. Instead, he whispered, "Internship is over, so be sure to pay attention to safety. If there is a problem, Mr. Zhao is not as talkative as usual." Upon hearing this, he nodded and reached out to the crowd, nodding, "Su Yunshuang, Zhao Han, and..." At this moment, Wu Shanshan, who had previously used his phone to test Su Yunshuang, looked up at him and kept blinking. "All right, Wu Shanshan, you three should prepare a little bit and come with me for the internship." The students were envious for a moment. Although they didn't pick any male students, they were not at all dissatisfied because everyone would have a similar opportunity. It's just that some people have more opportunities, while others have fewer. Newcomers who come to the club for classes will definitely have a guaranteed internship opportunity in the class where they are promoted. Zhao Han was selected in this way. And Su Yunshuang performed outstandingly today, with the only slight surprise probably being Wu Shanshan. It was her turn again, but who made her look the most beautiful in the class? Upon hearing someone sweep through everyone's expressions, I felt a slight pleasure in my heart. In his past life, he lived until he was in his 30s, but eventually died suddenly due to excessive overtime. As an ordinary person, he ended his ordinary life. He rarely chose others, and most of the time he was chosen by others. And in this life, he quickly gained the power to often choose others. The three girls who were named by him all had a slight hint of excitement on their faces, and then quickly tidied up. It took less than a minute to recover, and the speed of going out with makeup was completely different from the usual. Teacher Wu scanned the three of them before finally pausing slightly on Wu Shanshan's body. He furrowed his brow and glared at Ren Sheng. Upon hearing Ren Sheng's words, a gloomy sentence flashed in his ear. "Kid, I'll treat you like a brother. Don't let me be your father." Upon hearing the news, Sheng was speechless and could only ignore it. He waved goodbye to the students and said, "Goodbye, classmates. I will make up for the remaining class next time. Goodbye, teacher." The students stood up one after another. A group of 5 quickly walked out of the big office, with a low voice of discussion echoing from behind. "I still hear that you have the courage to take us students on internships every time you go out. Isn't that Lu Jian foolish? He might have flipped his brand this time, but he insisted on making that boring joke on Lao 1. The result was good, they were all new students. Zhao Han went, but he, who was obviously stronger, didn't succeed. I don't know if he's stupid or not, all I know is that he's unlikely to have the seed of fools. Be quiet and speculate about others' heterozygosity, but it's a big taboo. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Angry Referees. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Angry Referees. After leaving the hall, Teacher Wu led 4 people towards the west side of the circular corridor, went straight, turned the corner, and then came to the other side. On this side, there are 4 large offices arranged neatly, with high signs hanging at the entrance one by one. At first glance, if outsiders see the Project Center, R&D Center, Finance Center, and Outreach Center, they will only think that it is a software company, rather than a club working in a mysterious field. Like the teaching hall just now, these large offices are all separated by semi-transparent glass walls. Looking up, the space is large, but there are not many staff members in each large office area. In a large office that can accommodate 4 to 5 people, there are only scattered 7 or 8 people. Teacher Wu led people straight to the Project Center, pushed open the glass door, and led the way in. Zhao Han looked curiously at this place, which should be the territory of Lao 1. However, according to his uncle, Lao Wu has more authority here, only 7 or 8 guns. He has immense authority, and how many people can he show it to? This is really incomparable to those ordinary industry companies, where hundreds or even thousands of people are also idle. Everyone should be careful to serve the boss, and the level is strict. Being able to achieve 996 must be regarded as a blessing from a past life. That's not enough here. With relevant abilities in the mysterious field, one can interview and join with a proficient level evaluation. The basic monthly salary starts at 30,000 yuan, and there are various commission allowances, implicit benefits, and all income is tax-free. Such good treatment can be a headache to put outside. I heard that there are still people who dare to leave work at 2 o'clock. Manager 1, Deputy Manager Wu, you're here. I'll introduce you to the specific situation of this sudden incident. A capable woman dressed in professional women's clothing, in her 30s and 30s, with light makeup and a 6-point beauty, carrying a pocket laptop, welcomed her. Okay, Captain Hu, come talk to me over there. Teacher Wu nodded and walked towards a small office separated by a glass wall. A few people walked in one after another, and the guest sat down. Team leader Hu placed his laptop on a desk, and a video recording was displayed on the screen. A beautiful female journalist, speaking indignantly in front of the camera, said, "The commotion that has occurred at the Tianxiao Stadium has just been quelled. In the 5.3 football match just now, the referee issued a total of 5 yellow cards, 2 red cards, and awarded 3 penalties. Surprisingly, his every judgment has not been verified by on.site VR, 2 red cards were given to the losing team, and 3 penalties were all given to the winning team." At the same time, waves of angry howls spread from the field. Black. 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 Where did the whistle go? The referee ate it. Leader Hu paused the recording and spoke, "After an emergency inspection by the on.site personnel, there is a lingering mysterious aura on this referee's body, which seems to explain why he dares to do so." Upon hearing this, Wen Rensheng's mouth twitched and he thought to himself, "It's just that there was no mysterious intervention. In my past life, they dared to do the same. These audacious bastards dare to treat our Shenzhou as an impossible place." Teacher Wu looked at the live broadcast with a stern expression and said to the audience, "Not to mention sneaking around and causing trouble, but now they dare to stir up trouble in public places, they are completely ignorant. If that's the case, they're really crazy." Wen Ren frowned. Lao Wu is right. The profound cultural heritage of China is strong, and the vast majority of mysterious events are limited to a small area and will not be exposed to the public view of ordinary people. Today, such incidents are actually extremely rare. Well, based on the analysis of our team members, the truth behind this stadium riot is more likely to be a disaster from the pool, said group leader Hu immediately, offering his own suggestion. The referee, Mr., is likely related to the recent series of homicide cases in the Western District. It is only his professional characteristics that have led to the current situation. As she spoke, she pulled up a table that listed some recent cases, which seemed to be the ones she had heard from Zhao Han when she heard about someone being promoted to work. More than half of the cases of husband and wife killing each other are related to motivation analysis, pressure from life and comparison, and various irresponsible remarks on the internet. Secondly, there are some conflicts between strangers, mostly seemingly accidental conflicts that ignite anger. Motivational analysis is related to the fast-paced lifestyle and excessive work pressure. At this moment, 3 interns, Zhao Han, Su Yunxuang, and Wu Shanshan, took out a notebook and quickly recorded everything they heard and saw with their pens. This is extremely valuable experience for them, and they can directly use it after officially entering the industry. Mengxin and Mengxin with work experience are 2 completely different concepts. Captain Hu continued, the referee's name is He San Kai, who has been brought under control on the spot. According to his confession on the spot, he just had a big argument with his wife Lu Fangfang because of the issue of buying a house. He wants to switch industries and settle in this city, but he can't get the full payment for the house. He can only pay a down payment of 2.5, and the rest will need to be borrowed. Borrowing will significantly reduce his wife's quality of life, so he is often mocked by Lu Fangfang for not being able to speak up, being timid, and never achieving anything in his lifetime. So in a fit of anger, he accepted black gold in the last game. Zhao Han suddenly interjected. Team leader Hu looked up at the young girl and felt inexplicably annoyed. He was about to mock her, but when he saw that both the manager and deputy manager were silent, his heart moved and he restrained himself. It's not like that, but his wife is crazy about an idol who happens to be a staunch supporter of the losing team and deliberately gave up a performance, just cheering on the spot. She just continued calmly. Is this a complex relationship? Zhao Han was surprised at the moment. Cough. Upon hearing a reminder from Rensheng, Zhao Han stuck out his tongue and shrunk behind the other 2 women. Based on his personal confession, his motivation analysis shows that he just wants to prove to his wife that he is also very capable. The idol that the other party admires, seemingly superior and perfect, will still be annoyed and frustrated by his few small actions, but helpless. Based on the above information analysis, we preliminarily determined that the difficulty of this unexpected event is above the level of proficiency and below the level of expert. Leader Hu continued to explain. Not bad, first send all the relevant information to my email, and we will go to the scene to see the referee in person, Wen Rensheng said decisively. Okay, I'll trouble you with this matter, Teacher Wu nodded in response. Manager Wen, should I come with you? Asked group leader Hu. Wen Rensheng remained silent, holding his chin as if lost in thought. A few people were all staring at him. As the old saying goes, it's true that good-looking men look better when taken seriously. If it's an ugly man, no one will look at him when taken seriously. No one knows, a new stream of information is flashing through his mind. Mysterious event. Angry referee. A professional referee deeply involved in family disputes gave up years of persistence and made an absurd judgment. Is this a distortion of human nature or a decline in morality? All the truth needs to go into mystery to get the final answer. Mystery level 15. Mysterious composition. After seeing it, Ren Sheng shook his head and said, no need, your preliminary judgment should be fine. With such difficulty, I'll take them 3 students with me. The others should stay at home and be busy with other things, after all, we are few people. Okay, then. Leader Hu nodded. Teacher Wu patted his shoulder and said, it seems that the problem is really not big. Since it's you who came forward, then I can rest assured. Upon hearing this, Wu Shanshan's eyes flickered and two highlights flashed behind him. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Mysterious Website. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Mysterious Website. When Rensheng took 3 people with him, so he decided to take the stairs to the underground parking lot. Zhao Han followed quickly downstairs and exclaimed curiously, "Teacher Wen, every time you go up and down the stairs, do you have any explanation here?" "Humph, I don't even know about this." Wu Shanshan glanced at her and interjected, "After all, it's a new transfer student. Let me tell you." "Then please trouble Senior." Zhao Han quickly thanked, holding a notebook and preparing to take notes. She wore a grateful smile on her face, but her intuition told her that the other person seemed to be very unwilling for her to get closer to Wen Rensheng, so she couldn't say any more words. But the alien she activated clearly reminded her to get close to this Wen Rensheng and stay away from another person. Sure enough, there was nothing easy to do when entering the mysterious realm, and now I seem to be disgusted by this Wu Shanshan. Elevators are enclosed and narrow spaces, often within 1 meter of strangers. This is a default danger zone, and 18.3% of mysterious attacks occur inside the elevator. If there is no urgent matter, taking stairs is a better choice. Long-term persistence may also improve slightly extraordinary physical fitness. Wu Shanshan seemed to answer with some pride, "These are all things that people have talked about in class." "Oh, if that's the case, then we can run to the scene," Zhao Han quickly thought to himself. "It's only 23.3 kilometers from here to the Tianxiao Sports Stadium, and we can run there in at most half an hour." "Zhao is very smart," Su Yunshuang nodded with a smile, but did not answer her question. Instead, she changed the topic and said, "Many heterologous owners who specialize in combat never use any means of transportation. Some extreme people even reject any technological tools that can bring convenience, such as cooking without using any kitchen utensils. It's really exaggerated, hard to imagine. How would this meal be made without kitchen utensils?" Zhao Han was surprised and didn't continue to ask the previous question because she suddenly realized that her proposal was foolish. If you really want to run away, it's daylight now. How damaging the image of the beautiful women is. A few people walked while talking and quickly arrived at the parking lot. At this moment, the driver who heard someone rise had already driven the car to the staircase exit, waiting for the 4 people. When hearing Ren Sheng speak with 3 people, it is natural not to waste time. The driver has already been notified. "Well, my car may be a bit crowded," when Ren Sheng glanced at San Renren and turned to him. "Do you want to feel wronged? It's not crowded, you can sit on my lap when you hear someone." Wu Shanshan blinked her slender eyes and said naturally. "Wow," Zhao Han's face suddenly turned red and he held it in his hand. "Is this the world of adults?" Upon hearing someone speechless, the 3 of them opened one side of the rear car door and said, "Wu Shanshan, please be reserved in public. For safety reasons, you 3 should squeeze in the back seat." "I understand, do you mean that I don't have to be reserved in private situations?" Wu Shanshan took the opportunity to say. When I didn't say anything," Wen Rensheng said helplessly. At this point, his driver Li Shuangyue had already gotten out of the car, opened the passenger door for him, and then opened the rear door on the other side for the 3rd woman. Upon hearing this, I sat directly in the passenger seat and closed my eyes, as if I needed to rest. "Cut, I don't want other women to ride in the same car as you." Wu Shanshan seemed a bit disappointed, pouting and quickly walking towards a nearby red sports car. He turned to Nu and said, "You too, come and ride in my car." Su Yunshuang smiled but did not respond. Instead, he asked Zhao Han to sit in the back row first, and she got on the other side of the car. After 3 people got into the car, the driver checked the car door and then started the car steadily. After the car started, it drove out of the parking lot and turned onto the main road. Zhao Han took the opportunity to ask Su Yunshuang, "Senior Wu won't be angry about this, will he?" "No, she's not as stingy as you think," Su Yunchuan comforted, then took a deep breath as if unintentionally. The red sports car quickly caught up, and Zhao Han turned his head to see Wu Shanshan in the driver's seat, his eyes seemingly cold, looking at his own car. It seems a bit wrong, but why would Su Yunchuan be certain that the other person is not angry? Tianqiao Sports Stadium security room. He Sankai squatted on the ground, anxiously looking at the door. At this moment, his hands were being handcuffed to the cold radiators with 2 silver handcuffs with strange patterns, and his legs were also tied with ankle shackles with the same patterns. The room was empty, except for him. Such treatment made him feel uneasy. I don't know, but I just made a few ambiguous judgments. Shouldn't you just want to kill me? In his unclear legal concept, criminals who are shackled often face heavy sentences, even the death penalty. He is just a football referee eager for a lawyer to tell him, but in fact, it's not like that. He thought nervously, filled with fear and a hint of regret. Why do I think of that childish way of revenge when I'm angry? Although the wife who is obsessed with idols is even more childish. But if it's not a big deal, why do you act impulsively and do such a foolish thing that could lead to imprisonment? I'm really lost in my mind. When he was feeling self-deprecating, the door finally opened from outside. He looked up and saw 2 men coming first, one who disgusted him and the other who also disgusted him. It seems that it's because the other person's face has a kind of confidence and composure that he doesn't have, and even looks down a bit. Behind them were 3 women, each wearing a pair of large, wide-brimmed goggles, covering half of their faces tightly. However, in terms of physique, they are all very good, more than just one advantage over his wife who spent the day at the gym. I was wronged, he immediately said, trying to straighten himself up. The sound of clattering iron chains echoed under his feet, and his hands handcuffed to the radiator stopped his attempt. Shut up. He Sankai, do you know how big an accident you almost caused? He was scolded by one of the 2 middle-aged men, who had a cold and stern appearance, sharp eyes, and well-developed muscles. He Sankai quickly calmed down, although he didn't know why he disliked these 2 people and didn't want to say anything to them. But after all, he is a person who often appears in the sight of tens of thousands of people, and still has considerable willpower and rationality. He understands that refusing to answer questions will only lead to worse consequences. 2 gentlemen, I made some potentially incorrect judgments, but it's just a matter of my personal professional skills. He began to defend himself repeatedly. The object of his message is another newly arrived young man. The middle-aged man glared at him and interrupted him directly, it's up to us to determine whether it's a mistake. This is an expert specialized in handling special affairs, and you need to cooperate well. Remember, lying is not good for you, it will only magnify your originally limited responsibility. Before he Sankai could respond, the middle-aged man respectfully said to the young man next to him, Manager 1, I'll leave the rest to you. I'll be guarding outside the door, please call me anytime if you need anything. Okay, Inspector Liu, thank you for your hard work. Wen Rensheng leaned slightly to pay his respects. Where, you're so polite. Inspector Liu also leaned down and nodded at the 3 girls behind him before turning around and walking out of the security room. He stood outside the door and gently closed the door. Manager 1, hello. He Sankai suppressed his disgust and greeted him with some flattery. Wen Rensheng didn't speak, just stared at him. And behind him, the 3 girls took out a small notebook and started recording something. A new string of information appeared in Wen Rensheng's eyes once again. He Sankai. Mystery. February 3rd. Mysterious composition. Angry judge, related person, ... He Sankai was seen by the other party, feeling a little creepy, as if all his secrets had been exposed by the other party. The inexplicable sense of disgust grew stronger. After a while, he heard the man's cold voice say, have you ever come into contact with any special person or experienced anything special in your body during this month? Within a month. He Sankai was surprised when he heard this. He immediately realized that the other party seemed to want to help him, and as long as he could think of some special experiences, he could push the responsibility away. Thinking about this, his heart relaxed, and the inexplicable sense of disgust dissipated for the most part. What happened within a month, the people he had seen. He tried his best to recall it in his mind. Oh, I remember. I went to a forum and asked a question. What if my wife doesn't want to lower her quality of life and doesn't let me take out a loan to buy a house? Then someone sent me a private message saying that he could help me solve this problem and gave me a link. I went to that link, went to a website, and followed the prompts to register. What is the website name? Wen Rensheng asked. What really happened when Dao went online? He Sankai suddenly slapped his forehead with his handcuffed hands. How come I just can't remember? Wen Rensheng remained silent and stared at the other person again. He Sankai. Mystery. 1/3. Mysterious composition. People related to mysterious events, registrants of mysterious websites. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Getting off work on time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Getting off work on time. Don't worry, think slowly. Hearing Rensheng's voice ease, the other person didn't lie and was very witty. He liked it very much. Before, there were always some idiots who wanted to use various lies to justify themselves. Every time they encountered such people, he was very angry. Being foolish didn't mean it, but the key was. It affected him to leave work on time. You should know, one of his current motto is, never work overtime. Thinking of this, he looked at the watch in his hand. At 12:45, well, there is still more than an hour until work, so he should be able to handle this person's situation. He Sankai quickly calmed down and said, you can check my phone. I usually use my phone to surf the internet and rarely use a computer. When Rensheng turned his head and glanced at the three women behind him. Su Yunshuang, who was just taking notes, had already put on a pair of white gloves while the two were answering questions. Her slender fingers were holding a Pineapple brand smartphone, looking down. Seeing the news, Rensheng immediately replied, I just checked my phone and most of the data and applications have been cleared and uninstalled. I have contacted team leader Hu, and the project center is trying to recover remotely. They are also contacting the communication department to retrieve relevant information such as internet access and phone calls. Not bad, when Rensheng nodded satisfactorily and looked at He Sankai again. Can you remember anything else? He Sankai lost focus in his eyes and seemed to be trying his best to recall. Finally, he hesitated a bit, but in the end, he still spoke up. Oh, I remember, there was one more thing that happened last month. I once chatted with a female netizen online, and later saw local news that she was killed by her husband due to a family dispute. Tell me more carefully. Hearing this, I frowned. He Sansai's tone was a bit excited. I remember that very clearly. The other party was a crazy enthusiast who loves to bet the ball. While chatting, I accidentally exposed my referee identity. She often asked me for a lot of professional knowledge on how to determine the win or lose of the two teams, and later even arranged for me to meet offline. Have you gone yet? When Rensheng stared closely at him. I went. He Sankai hesitated and eventually admitted, but he quickly covered it up with new information. So when I was reading local news later, I immediately knew that the woman who died was her. Men are indeed big pig hooves. Zhao Han, who was probing his head and observing He Sankai, sneered disdainfully upon hearing this. After finishing speaking, she felt a chill behind her, instinctively shrinking her neck and immediately lowering her head to make a diligent record. At this moment, a "be careful" sound, as if it was something Su Yunshuang had said, suddenly hit her ear. Zhao Han was surprised for a moment and instinctively looked up towards the front. She was suddenly startled, and saw a hazy dark red mist surging out of He Sansai's body, seemingly constantly changing. Vaguely, she seemed to see something, as if something was roaring. Was it in anger? But the next moment, she watched as Wen Rensheng suddenly flashed in front of Hisankai, reaching out and frowning at him. She could clearly see a hint of deep purple light flashing on the tip of the other person's index finger. Bang, she vaguely heard a burst of sound, followed by the dark red dust rising from Hisansai's body, which dissipated in an instant, accompanied by an inexplicable scream. Don't speak recklessly. Wu Shanshan's voice immediately sounded low, different from before, with a hint of coldness. Sorry. Zhao Han knew he might have made some taboos and immediately lowered his head to admit his mistake. Just now, what was that? Hisankai felt his head light, and when he looked at Wen Rensheng, the inexplicable disgust in his heart had already disappeared. Upon hearing someone rise up and smile at him, the information that appeared in his eyes has been updated again. Hisankai. Mystery level 0/3. Mysterious composition. People involved in mysterious events, registrants of mysterious websites, and carriers of former alien, anger, hatred, powers. You have explored an extremely low level of mystery character and have not discovered any new mysterious knowledge. The current level of mystery has been restored by 1 point. It's a bit chicken ribs, but there should be a big meal waiting for me behind my back. Upon hearing these thoughts, Rensheng flashed back and waved his hand. Su Yunshuang walked up and explained seriously, Mr. He, don't panic. The strange omen that appeared on you just now is actually a high-dimensional energy body. It has been expelled now, and it will be fine in the future. That is to say, my previous behaviors were all caused by this high-dimensional energy body. Hisankai had no interest in figuring out what a high-dimensional energy body was, although this concept seems to have been mentioned by people online in his daily life. He just let out a sigh of relief and said, I knew that I have always been a person who adheres to principles. How could I possibly do such shameless things? The determination of specific responsibilities is not up to us. We will make a detailed and truthful report on what happened to you and submit it to the local inspection department for them to decide. Su Yunshuang continued to explain. That means I can't be released immediately yet. Hisan suddenly became impatient. Well, isn't this still unfair to me? I'm a person with face. You guys should release me as soon as possible. If others find out that I'm locked up here, how can I be a good person in the future? Wen Rensheng didn't give any answer. Ordinary people always think that once the truth is understood, they can escape smoothly. How could it be so simple? As long as it involves a mysterious event, there are a lot of necessary procedures to go through, confidentiality agreements need to be signed, records need to be made, and a certain period of quarantine observation. This is just the most basic, and depending on the severity of the event, ordinary criminal responsibility needs to be determined. He turned around to open the door and let Inspector Liu, who had been guarding the door, in. The situation on this person has been basically understood, and they have just undergone purification. A detailed report will be submitted to you tomorrow morning, Wen Rensheng said. Thank you, thank you. It's really hard to hear from the manager. Inspector Liu nodded repeatedly and did not do any duplicate identification. Instead, he immediately reached out his hands and held them tightly with him. It's nothing, it's not over yet, but it's all tomorrow's business. Wen Rensheng shook hands with him and looked at his watch. It was already 1:15 when he finished writing his report on his way back to the car and happened to be off work. I understand, but I still need to trouble Manager Wen to continue following up, Inspector Liu pleaded again. Hello, Inspector Liu, according to your instructions, I can't leave yet, can I? Hisankai struggled desperately, trying to highlight his own existence. What's your name? You think you really don't have any responsibility? Inspector Liu glared at him fiercely, but still walked over and took out a key to unlock his ankle shackles. And handcuffs. Hisansai's voice lowered again, arching his hands. However, Inspector Liu pulled out a pair of ordinary handcuffs from his waist, handcuffed him first, and then opened the originally patterned handcuffs. What does this mean? Sankai said, somewhat surprised, but finally straightened up. That means you don't have any special danger now, Inspector Liu said angrily. You can't do this. The expert and this girl just said that things are all done by high-dimensional energy bodies, and it has nothing to do with me. You should release me on the spot. At most, I can go to your department to make a record. Of course, I don't want compensation, after all, you are also working for the public. Sankai looked aggrieved. Zhao Han couldn't help but want to refute him. When did the teacher and Senior Su say this? However, she also felt that what the other party said was somewhat reasonable. Since the incident was caused by that high-dimensional energy body, innocent people should not be implicated anymore. After all, it is not an honorable thing for ordinary people to be involved in this matter, but when she saw the other few people showing indifference, she thought about the trouble she had just caused and finally swallowed back, choking herself up. You have a big face, stop talking nonsense and be honest with me. Inspector Liu didn't listen to Sansai's defense and just pressed his shoulder, as easily as pressing a chick. At this moment, a middle-aged woman's voice faintly came from outside the door. Let me in, why are you arresting my husband? This lady, an on-site investigation is underway inside. Please do not disrupt the order, a solemn voice sounded. Sankai, I watched this live broadcast again. I blamed you, you're not a coward. But you misunderstood me. The middle-aged woman in the distance seemed to be full of anger, her voice was loud, and people couldn't enter, but her voice could still be heard clearly. I just can't stand you just sitting on the sofa and playing with your phone when you go home. I want to stimulate you to pick yourself up again, just like how you used to work during the day and stay up late at night to take the referee's exam. Let's work hard together again. I will always wait for you to come out. Sankai heard this and covered his face with both hands, as if something had entered his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Who is more luxurious? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Who is more luxurious? On the way back to the club, when Rensheng was still sitting in the passenger seat, only dragging out a laptop fixed in the passenger seat, closing his eyes, and quickly typing a report. In the back row, Zhao Han was turning his head and talking to Su Yunshuang, his tone quite excited. I never expected such a touching truth behind her. The wife wanted her husband to make progress, deliberately using words to stimulate her, but was misunderstood by her husband. Under the interference of an alien force, she did something illegal. But after enduring hardships, the two still reconciled and cleared up their past grievances. The wife waited at home for her husband to come back. She was still writing in her notebook while speaking. Just then, I suddenly heard a low laughter from the co-pilot. Teacher 1. Zhao Han stretched out his voice with a hint of coquettishness, is there anything wrong with my summary? When Rensheng didn't turn back or open his eyes, just continued typing on the report. Innocence is actually a very good quality, and I hope to have such friends around me. I always feel like you're mocking me, Zhao Han said bitterly, then said to Su Yunshuang, Senior, do you think what I said is wrong? Well, Su Yunshuang twisted her silver hair and smiled slightly on her beautiful profile. In our profession, we actually have similarities with ordinary reconnaissance. What others say is not very important, the key is to see what he has done and what evidence he has left behind. Zhao Han understands a bit, but he doesn't understand at all. The other party seems to be reminding themselves that they didn't find any evidence just now, but when Rensheng told Liu Inspector that the situation on Sankai has been basically understood. Hey, as a beginner on the road, it's really a headache. It's all my uncle's fault, and I don't take the time to train myself in advance. I just get on the car and don't make a fool of myself. I'll steal his investigative diary and take a look when I get back. Thinking of this, she looked around and saw Wu Shanshan driving behind, as if his face had turned even colder. However, she also discovered something she was interested in. She whispered to Su Yunchuang, the teacher can actually knock on the report with his eyes closed. It's really impressive. I can also type blindly, but I can't correct any typos in time. Moreover, when typing, my thinking becomes chaotic. I don't know what was written earlier. All the extraordinary memories of the teacher were rated as advanced or above, and the report was typed in his mind. What are the characteristics of his typing on the keyboard? Su Yunchuang patiently replied. Zhao Han looked carefully and after a while, he was slightly surprised and said, it seems like the teacher only uses the number keys. That's right, he used the location input method, which is a coding method where 4 digits correspond to a Chinese character or symbol, also known as location code. This input method has 1 character per code, which is extremely difficult to remember and has no practical value for ordinary people, but it can easily input special symbols and rare characters, and the operation is very fast. Su Yunchuang explained. I see, as expected, entering the mysterious realm is full of places that are different from ordinary people, Zhao Han said excitedly. Oh, I remember now. The senior also mastered the skill of extraordinary memory. No wonder you can easily access various materials. Su Yunchuang shook her head and said, I'm still far behind. To reach the level of a teacher, I need at least 3 years of hard training. The two of them were talking and unconsciously returned to the Meilong building. They stopped downstairs and did not enter the parking lot. Wu Shanshan's red sports car came to a close stop. Zhao Han looked at his phone and found that he had just left the classroom at 1:50, which means it had not been 2 hours since he left the classroom at 12 o'clock, and he had finally solved an event. It's not as fast as in the anime, right? Wait for me a little longer, the report is about to be finished, I'll take you to dinner later, and by the way, I'll go home, Wen Renxing suddenly said. Ah. Zhao Han was stunned at the words and couldn't help but say, it's not yet 2 o'clock. Do you want to leave work early, teacher? It's not in advance. Teachers' work efficiency is often more than twice that of others, so they only work 4 hours on weekdays. Today is still considered overtime. Lunch time also needs to be used for work, it's really hard. Su Yunchuang said seriously. Zhao Han was speechless and immediately began to break his fingers. He met him at 9 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a total of 5 hours. Except for 1 hour of lunch and rest, it happened to be 4 hours. Should we calculate so accurately? So that guy who finished work at 2 o'clock is him, is that the demeanor of a big bull? Not long after, she watched as Wen Ren lifted her upper body and spoke. All right, the report has been written and will be sent to Inspector Liu early tomorrow morning. We have finished today's work. Is that all? Shouldn't we work overtime overnight to solve all the problems? Previously, it was clearly stated that the matter was not over. If we leave it to tomorrow, won't there be more victims? Why don't we send the report immediately and insist on postponing it until tomorrow? Zhao Han instinctively felt a bit uncomfortable, but didn't say anything because perhaps there was some special reason she didn't know, and this profession was unknown to her everywhere. At this moment, she saw Wu Shanshan lying down outside the front car window and speaking to Wen Renxing. I heard that the private room has already been booked, it's still the same place. The person nodded and said to the driver, brotherly, let's go to the Xinyuan restaurant. The driver responded and started the vehicle again, while Wu Shanshan took a few steps back and returned to his own car. Zhao Han knows this location and it is a relatively high-end restaurant nearby, with an average consumption of 500.1000 yuan per person. Her uncle has taken her to eat it a few times, but she cannot afford it herself after all, she is just a temporary host of the alien species, receiving temporary subsidies, still in the learning stage, and has no ability to work at all. Just like the strange power on He Sankai just now, she suddenly had no way to deal with it and could only turn around and run. She believed that the other party should not be able to catch up with her. Thinking about it this way, she didn't do anything, just made soy sauce. It's okay to say that she did something wrong, and it's a shame. So she said decisively, I won't go, I'll just go to the club cafeteria and have some by myself. If there is one more person, it will cost several hundred more. Wen Rensheng may be very wealthy, and uncle is also very wealthy, but it has nothing to do with her. Su Yunchuang held her hand and smiled, this is also part of the internship. During the conversation, the car turned into a secluded park, where a green sign of Xinyuan Restaurant appeared behind a lush bamboo flower bed. Wu Shanshan's sports car followed in and parked together in a nearby parking spot. After a few people got off the car and met, they were led by a smiling beauty to pass through the dining hall surrounded by whispers and music, and entered a private room on the second floor by the window. Whatever you want to eat, ladies first, I don't have any taboos. Wen Rensheng generously handed over the menu. Of course you won't shy away from eating that kind of dark food every day. Wu Shanshan sat next to him first, hummed, and took the menu first. Look at what you're saying, I'm promoting work style and uniting colleagues. If nobody eats, isn't Shaoqing too pitiful? Wen Rensheng said with great righteousness. Yes, yes, you're the only good person in the club, Wu Shanshan said bitterly. I want this braised shrimp in oil and this Cantonese roast goose. Next was Su Yunchuang, who ordered crispy bamboo shoots in a dry pot and white roasted vegetable hearts. Zhao Han finally took over the menu, and it seemed that, as before, there was indeed no one below 300. She had no choice but to order the cheapest one, stir-fried celery. When Rensheng finally took the menu and casually said, girl's appetite is small, then directly ordered 7 or 8 dishes, 3 plates of steamed dumplings, and a pot of seaweed abalone soup. Zhao Han was somewhat surprised and calculated that for a total of 15 or more dishes, it would cost around 5 or 6,000 yuan. The cost of this meal was also too high. Of course, compared to some tycoons, it's nothing at all. They can easily eat a meal for tens of thousands. But thinking about He Sankai causing a big fuss with his wife over buying a house and taking out a loan, it made her particularly touched. In today's society, there are too many differences between people. She subconsciously said, it seems like we're eating a bit too extravagantly, right? Humph, Wu Shanshan glared at her, what's this? Do you know how many billionaires there are in the country? I don't know, there may be tens of thousands of people, right? Zhao Han thought hard and gave a number. Last year's statistics were 63,500 people. Su Yunchuang smiled and gave her a round. Do you know experts in the mysterious field? How many people can come up with one? Wu Shanshan ignored Su Yunchuang and continued to ask. It seems that the proportion is very low. Zhao Han vaguely understood the other person's meaning. Less than 1 in 100,000. With 1.4 billion people in China, there are only a few thousand experts, Wu Shanshan sneered. Zhao Han still felt that something was not quite right. It seemed that she couldn't directly analogize like this, but she didn't want to continue arguing with the other party. Regardless of whether she won or lost, she would lose to a newcomer like her. Alright, I don't usually eat like this. I only reward everyone by resolving the issue, because it can be reimbursed. When Rensheng brought drinks to everyone. Not long after, dishes were served one by one, and a few people began to eat quietly, occasionally whispering about something. Halfway through the meal, around 2:30 p.m., when Wen Rensheng received another phone call, his expression became a bit strange as he listened. After putting down the phone, he said to the third woman, He Sansai's wife just mentioned a BMW for 575,000 yuan. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. No Innocence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. No Innocence. How could she do this? How could she dare to do this? How could she do this? Zhao Han stood up and almost touched a small bowl of soup in front of him. Su Yunchuang beside her reacted extremely quickly and quickly reached out to hold on to the dishes to prevent the soup from spilling out. Why are you so excited? Wu Shanshan nodded at the table. Sit down, have a good meal, don't waste our time. Zhao Han sat down unhappy. Just now on the road, she thought she had seen a scene of true human emotions, but within a few hours, her face was swollen. Shanshan, don't be cruel to her. As the teacher said, innocence is a good quality. Su Yunchuang didn't seem surprised and comforted the two people. Zhao Han didn't understand. This shows that she is a good child. Humph, it's just that she hasn't been contaminated yet. In a few years, she will still have today's reaction, so I will admire her, Wu Shanshan sneered. Don't say, what's the matter? Let's talk after dinner. Don't waste this table of good food. When Rensheng continued to eat another steamed dumplings. Zhao Han looked at a delicious table, but he couldn't eat it anymore. She felt a bit aggrieved and didn't know why Wu Shanshan was always targeting her today. Although everyone has just started getting in close contact, she has just switched classes to study and hasn't been here for a few days. Many students haven't fully recognized her. Is it because the other party sees that they are intentionally approaching Wen Rensheng, but their possessiveness is a bit excessive? Moreover, it seems that Su Yunchuang's relationship with Wen Rensheng is also very good, and there is also a woman named Xiao Qing. I remember my uncle said that she seems to be from the R&D center. Why not target them? Are you still bullying yourself as a newcomer? Thinking of this, she stubbornly said, Master Wu, perhaps I am naive, but I really can't understand why my husband is still in custody and my wife can confidently buy a luxury car. Why did she say those touching words before? I really doubt whether his wife was also influenced by the power of a different species. We should go back and deal with this matter immediately. What are you yelling at? Wu Shanshan looked at her coldly. What should I do? I still need you to teach me. I never do anything wrong when I hear someone. If you ordinary people can't understand his actions, just shut up and wait for the result. Don't give me this big flag tree. When Rensheng waved his hand and quickly refused the poisoned milk. Then he put down his chopsticks and explained to Zhao Han, your inference is human nature, but the phone said that his wife has been controlled by Inspector Liu and has undergone careful testing, and no influence of any alien power has been found. What? Upon hearing this, Zhao Han's head buzzed and the news made her unable to believe it. She would rather believe that it was the power of an alien species that twisted the heart of He Sansai's wife, causing her to suddenly buy a luxury car, than believe that this was the other party's genuine choice. Wu Shanshan didn't look at her anymore. He just picked up a pair of plastic gloves, put them on his jade hand, fiercely tore open the roasted goose, pulled off a goose leg, and then stuffed it into the mouth that smelled someone rising. Why do you explain so much to her? Let her investigate on her own, she said with some dissatisfaction. Little girl, you always have to go through the beating of society to grow. All right, Shanshan, we also came through this stage. Su Yunchuang comforted both sides and then grabbed Zhao Han's hand. Actually, this is not incomprehensible. Do you remember the information that team leader who gave us before? Zhao Han immediately took out his notebook from his shirt pocket and flipped through the shorthand he had taken before. He Sankai could only provide a down payment of 2.5%, and the remaining amount needed to be borrowed. His wife opposed this and mocked him for being incompetent and cowardly, as she felt that it would lower her quality of life. She was reading her shorthand carefully. That's right, do you remember her wife's last shout before we left? Su Yunchuang coaxed gently. Well, she finally said that the reason for mocking her husband like that was to stimulate him to work hard again and to say that she would work together with him until he came out, Zhao Han whispered. These are all clearly recorded in the notebook. Think about it, if a wife genuinely wants to work hard with her husband, would she not want to lower her quality of life and just use harsh words to stimulate her husband? Su Yunchuang said slowly. Zhao Han finally had this curve in her mind, but she would rather not figure it out on her own. But she still said, I understand. Her last words were just to deceive her husband into giving her the down payment for the house with peace of mind. She never thought about working hard with her husband from beginning to end, she just wanted to shift the burden of life onto others and enjoy it for herself. The average price of houses in Dongshui City this year is over 20,000 yuan. For a 100 square meter house, a down payment of 2.5% is exactly over 500,000 yuan. Su Yunchuang continued to add a number. Zhao Han lowered his head and didn't speak anymore, while the others continued to eat. But she suddenly stood up and said, I still want to go up and ask her what she really thinks. You. Wu Shanshan glared at her, and when he heard Ren Sheng, he nodded slightly to Su Yunchuang. Alright, there's nothing I can do about you. Su Yunchuang reached out and pulled Zhao Han back to his seat, his seemingly slender arms carrying a force that Zhao Han couldn't resist. She put down her chopsticks, took out her phone, placed it on the tablecloth, opened a software, and showed it to Zhao Han. Zhao Han instinctively looked over and saw that it was a multifunctional blue and black background software called Secret Key, which was somewhat similar to the commonly used Q message. Su Yunchuang opened one of the windows and quickly typed on it. Inspector Liu, we would like to see the upcoming live broadcast of the inquiry about He Sansai's wife, is that okay? Miss Su, of course not a problem, but just leave these miscellaneous tasks to us, and we will push them to you as soon as we have the results. A person with a picture of a little raccoon and a nickname of Lu Xiong replied. Oh, we have a new student here who wants to observe everyone's questioning skills and learn them. Miss Su is really polite. She's just some ordinary toys. Alright, I'll start a live broadcast and I'll hear from her soon. Not long after, Zhao Han saw that the software screen changed and a black screen appeared, followed by a simple white room. Inside, there is Inspector Liu and a female inspector, both sitting behind a table. Not far from the table sat a woman in her 30s, somewhat handsome, dressed in light makeup and exquisite attire, with a decent figure. Zhao Han had heard the other party's angry shouting before, and thought they were a sturdy woman in her 40s, but it turned out to be completely different. This woman has no restrictive measures, so it seems that the problem is not significant. At the beginning, the inquiries were all done step by step, including names, age, social relationships, etc., and soon Zhao Han's concerns came to light. Inspector Liu said sternly, Wang Qinyue, when you met with your husband He San Kai before, you said you wanted to hire the best lawyer for him. Why did you take the bank card and password he gave you and rush to the XX store to buy a BMW 5 Series? Mr. Inspector, did I do this without violating any laws? Wang Qinyue asked with her legs together. No, this is the common property of your husband and wife, and any disputes arising will be resolved through negotiation between both parties. However, the issue just now is related to an incident we are investigating. Please fulfill your obligations and cooperate with us proactively, Inspector Liu said calmly. Wang Qinyue seemed to breathe a sigh of relief upon hearing this. She leaned back in her chair and said happily, that He San Kai is not a good person at all. When he met a female netizen who asked him for help offline, he thought I didn't know. Later, on the news, that despicable woman was killed by her husband. He was like his wife had died, and for several days he was in a daze. I can still rely on him for the rest of my life. Coincidentally, something happened to him. I took the money back and bought a good car, treating it as a way to make up for my years of youth. When he was sentenced, I sued for divorce and vented my anger. Following him, I thought we could live a good life, but it turned out to be 33 years old. He couldn't even afford a house in full, he was such a loser. Many of the men who chased me back then have now become bosses. Wang Qinyue said this with a hint of hatred and some joy on her face. By the way, Inspector, how many years should he be sentenced in this situation? It's better to judge more to avoid bothering me. She asked softly again. Inspector Liu shook his head and said, "You don't need to inquire about this. Come and sign. After you finish signing, you can leave. But remember not to leave this city and wait for possible subpoena. When can you leave freely? We will inform you again." As he spoke, he pushed several A4 papers on the table forward. "Thank you, Inspector." Wang Qingyue quickly stood up and began to sign. The live broadcast ended soon after, and Zhao Han sat behind the dining table in a daze. The world of adults is so dark. I want to return to anime. She murmured to herself, feeling that in a short period of time, her mood was like riding a roller coaster, up and down one after another. It turns out that in the end, no one is completely innocent, that's the truth. One's own alien species can see through many things, but cannot see through people's hearts. Su Yunshuang reached out and caressed her head, comforting her, "Don't be afraid. Just keep your eyes open, look at the world rationally, believe in what you can truly believe, and you will definitely walk well." Upon hearing these words, Zhao Han instinctively leaned his head against the other person's embrace, seeking comfort. Unconsciously, he had only seen each other for a day. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Hiding Yourself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Hiding yourself. A scene during the meal quickly fell, and everyone began to eat calmly again. As it approached 3 o'clock, Wen Renqing drank a glass of water and slightly stretched his body. Not bad, Ah Zhen's cooking skills have improved again. This little devil doesn't know how many secrets he has stolen from our great Shenzhou cuisine, he sighed casually. Zhao Han curiously said, "Is Ah Zhen the chef here?" "Well, a guy from East Island seems very decent, but he is actually a fat house obsessed with anime." Wen Ren replied. The people of Dongdao have always been humble and respectful, and have been loyal servants of our Shenzhou Eastern Front since ancient times. How could the teacher call him Little Devil? This title seems to have a hint of contempt. Zhao Han blinked his eyes, seemingly puzzled. That's the teacher's personal hobby, Su Yunshuang smiled. As long as they're not from China, the teacher sometimes calls them that way. This is not my prejudice, Wen Renqing reminded. Let me give you another small lesson. The humility and loyalty of those guys are because we have always had this. As he spoke, he casually pinched the handle of a ceramic cup and exerted a slight force. The hard ceramic handle suddenly turned into something like powder, scattering it on the clean white tablecloth. The other two women's faces did not change much, while Zhao Han widened his eyes, shook his head, and stared at the powder, thinking to himself that at this level, perhaps uncle also needs to take it seriously to achieve it. Only by maintaining this can we have long-term friendship with them. After a small performance, Wen Renqing stood up to pay the bill. For him, one of the best places in this world compared to his past life is because of the infiltration of mysterious realms, and the lower limit of the divine realm has always been high. At its weakest point, it is possible to retreat to the position of East Asian hegemon and keep up with the progress of the times. Because there are no foolish people among the top experts in the mysterious field, each with broad thinking and always looking at the whole world, they will never be as closed and corrupt as feudal rulers. They always face competition from the whole world, and being closed and corrupt means being ruthlessly killed by their opponents and taking away the alien species. And because of his past life memories, he often has one more warning than locals. After checking out, he said to the three women, "After you return to the club, handle this incident as usual, go to the project department to retrieve information, communicate with the inspection department. Still pay attention to that one, don't contact any suspicious people privately without my company." "Understood, teacher," Su Yunshuang agreed first. Zhao Han nodded along, her mood had recovered. After all, she had not seen such a tragic scene. If she were to be defeated just because of a tumultuous heart story, it would not be possible to be selected by a different race. "Okay, then I'll go home. Shanshan, you can take them both back to the club later." Wen Renqing said and left. Wu Shanshan responded with a sound, but immediately stood up and quickly followed suit. Zhao Han wanted to keep up, but was stopped by Su Yunshuang. The two of them sat down at the dining table again. Although Zhao Han didn't quite understand, he happened to take advantage of this alone time to ask some concerned questions to this senior who seemed to take good care of him. Wu Xuejie seems to have a good relationship with manager Wen Ren, she probed. Well, after this summer vacation, Shanshan will be in her senior year. In fact, she is 1 year older than her teacher. She not only teaches at the club, but also interns at the project center for a year. It is very likely that she will stay here to work after graduation next year. Su Yunshuang smiled. Oh. Zhao Han pretended to tidy up his short black hair and quickly conjured up a classic workplace scene in his mind. An intern trying to quickly integrate into the environment and rise to power, using his own beauty to climb up to a young and promising boss. No wonder Wu Shanshan clearly regards himself as his biggest enemy as a newcomer. Yunshuang is a young lady from the five-color group, studying at the prestigious Aomori University. Currently, she only attends tutoring classes in a club. She is steady and reserved, kind and rational, gentle and generous. She will not compete with Wu Shanshan for jealousy. The unmasked Xiaoqing is a formal employee of the club's R&D center, and Wu Shanshan should not be offended. What I thought before was right. Due to the cues from the alien species, if I intentionally approach Wen Renqing, of course, I will be fiercely targeted. Boys are all guys who love the new and hate the old, just like those guys in the class. They seem innocent on the surface, but in reality, their crush has changed a few times. With this in mind, Zhao Han felt that she completely understood and made a gossiping look. Wu Xuejie's sports car, I heard the boys in school talk about a similar brand, isn't it quite expensive? 624,000 yuan, which she bought with her internship salary and project commission, Su Yunshuang smiled. Her expertise in the mysterious field is very close to the evaluation of proficiency level. After about half a month of qualification assessment, she will officially advance and become a heterogeneous host with proficiency level evaluation. Upon hearing this, Zhao Han stopped organizing his hair, his face slightly surprised and a little envious. As my uncle said, this industry is a powerful pumping machine that continuously extracts wealth created by ordinary industries. Just an intern has the ability to buy hundreds of thousands of sports cars, and a white-collar worker who is more than 10 years older than her, working hard, can only scrape together the down payment for the house. Su Yunshuang seemed to notice and held down her hand, saying, "You don't have to envy her, just hold on, and in a few years, you will also reach her level." "Thank you, Sister Yunshuang," Zhao Han smiled heartily. However, we new xenobiotic hosts are only temporary owners. Only by becoming experts in a certain branch can we be permanent hosts. Thinking about these things really makes people nervous. I actually understand Sister Wu very well, she is also working hard. Oh, it's okay, you can definitely cross this threshold, Su Yunshuang looked into her eyes and gently encouraged, after all, you have such vitality. Huh, is that so? Zhao Han grinned, actually, my family says I have a big heart. Not bad, having an optimistic mindset is the key to maintaining one's mood. By the way, are you still a high school student now? Su Yunshuang asked, her pure gaze filled with concern. Yeah, my senior sister is really accurate. After this summer vacation, I will be in my 3rd year of high school. It was my uncle who entrusted me to switch classes, just to learn from the extraordinary memory of the famous teacher. If I learned it, I wouldn't have to worry about the hell of the college entrance examination. Huh, maybe I was dreaming. I didn't expect it to be so difficult, but it's just impossible to learn it in just over a month of summer vacation, Zhao Han joked to himself. It may not be impossible, if you can fully tap into the potential of your alien species and conduct targeted training, Su Yunshuang said seriously. Well. Zhao Han was about to ask how to train specifically when he suddenly got stuck. Because she remembered her uncle's warning, no matter when, don't reveal any information about your own race to others, even if it's not at all. Don't forget that you have a long list of spare tires behind you, waiting to be promoted at any time. The only ones who can grasp this information are the Supreme Inspector and yourself. She quickly reacted and said, so if I want to get into Yunshuang's current school, how should I focus on studying in my senior year? Even for owners of different races, education is important because in case of failure in qualification assessment, they can still rely on their education and the identity of former owners of different races to do auxiliary work on the edge of mysterious fields, and still receive treatment that ordinary industries cannot match. Actually you can choose to become a special talent student. As long as you can demonstrate your cultivation talent in different races, you will have the opportunity to be admitted directly, Su Yunshuang patiently said. Of course, it is best for you to pass the exam through ordinary means, which will be more beneficial for your own safety. After all, hiding yourself is a course that temporary owners must learn. Because the main protected objects of the inspection department are those experts and talents who pay close attention to. Thank you, Sister Yunshuang, for your reminder. Zhao Han sincerely expressed his gratitude. Even though he had known all this earlier, he still felt a warm surge in his heart. It seems that even in this unknown world, I can still make sincere good friends. The two of them were talking in the private room, and at around 3:40 p.m., Wu Shanshan returned to the room and the conversation was interrupted. Zhao Han looked carefully and found that the other person had the same short black hair as himself, but it looked slightly messy. His face was a bit flushed, and his breathing was also a bit rapid. Is it possibly a legendary hindsight? At this thought, her face immediately turned red, but she did not look down on Wu Shanshan, because she now understood the other party's situation and behavior. Not everyone had the resources of Yunshuang's sister, and she also relied on different cues to take some shortcuts. Although I would never imitate the other person's direct approach, objectively speaking, there is still a difference between 50 steps and 100 steps. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Singing to Drinking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Singing to Drinking. Let's go, Wu Shanshan said nonchalantly as he glanced at the two of them, seemingly indifferent to what they saw. That's troublesome, senior. Zhao Han stood up and thanked him seriously. Wu Shanshan suddenly approached, squinting his narrow and agile eyes. He bent down and lowered his head, saying in her ear, "Stay away from him, that's not something you can touch." Zhao Han's face suddenly froze, and she felt a chill all over her body. In that moment, she seemed to see a thick, pitch-black mist suddenly emanating from Wu Shanshan's body, almost making her feel a sense of impending disaster. Is it surprising that such a terrifying character is only approaching the level of proficiency? What is the true strength of Wen Rensheng, who has long been rated as an expert? The scene where he crushed the ceramic handle before turned out to be just the tip of the iceberg. Wu Shanshan's ability to possess such power is undoubtedly closely related to him. Alright, don't scare our cute and innocent girls. Su Yunshuang stood up and patted Wu Shanshan's shoulder. Zhao Han suddenly felt a relaxation in his chest, and the feeling of fear completely disappeared. Cut, I thought there was a lot of potential, that's all, Wu Shanshan disdainfully said, then stood up straight, turned around and walked towards the box entrance, shaking off a sentence, "Let's go." Zhao Han didn't answer back, just gritted his teeth secretly. Wait, you guy who only relies on your body to ascend. 30 years in Hedong, 30 years in Heshi starting from the first event in front of you, take it seriously. The oppression of the other party actually ignited her stronger fighting spirit. She followed decisively and showed no signs of weakness. Behind her, Su Yunshuang picked up a silk handkerchief embroidered with a portrait pattern, rolled up the powder from the previous seat, and then picked up the cup and put it into the shoulder bag. When Rensheng sat in his own car, leaning against the back seat with his eyes closed, with a calm expression and slightly damp hair, as if he had just taken a shower. The driver drove steadily and had already climbed onto the well-connected elevated bridge, galloping south on the relatively open road. It's just 4 o'clock now, and the summer sun is still high above the western sky. At this time, there are few vehicles, and it's about to become congested at 5 or 6 o'clock. When Rensheng is in his mind, recalling what happened that day. The effect of enhanced extraordinary memory is to be able to replay past events in an incredibly clear manner, just like playing an animation. However, for ordinary people, they only have a rough impression and cannot recall many details. Zhao Han, Mystery Level. April 9th. Mysterious Composition. Extraordinary Power, Initial Extraordinary Constitution, Mysterious Cognition. It seems that the other party has an unknown alien species that they have not encountered before. Otherwise, after today's close contact, the mysterious species can be identified through the exotic aura. Once confirmed, it should be possible to increase the upper limit of mystery. Thinking of this, he compared himself with the other two people. Su Yunshuang, Mystery Level. March 15th. Mysterious Composition. The seed of joy, extraordinary power, extraordinary physique, extraordinary memory, mysterious cognition. Wu Shanshan, Mystery Level. May 21st. Mysterious Composition. The seed of fear, extraordinary power, extraordinary physique, mysterious equestrian skills, mysterious cognition. Still, even though their relationship is quite deep, they cannot all be unlocked. It seems that there is something deeply hidden in both of them. However, this is also normal. Even between couples, it is difficult to confide in each other, which is why sincere love is praised. Because it is rare, who would praise something that can be easily done? He skipped these scenes and flipped to another scene. Lu Jian, Mystery Level. 15 of 40. Mysterious Composition. Seed of anger, extraordinary power, mysterious cognition. This transfer student who came at the same time as Zhao Han, according to the records, is 21 years old. He is just a college student, but the upper limit of his mystery is very high. It seems that he either has a background or a story. The most common type of heterozygous owner is the emotional type, which includes 7 types. Joy, anger, worry, fear, love, hatred, and desire. But this does not mean that they are not powerful. In fact, these types of emotions are the easiest to elevate to the same level. High-level mutants often come from emotional species, while rare mutants may seem very powerful but find it difficult to achieve the conditions for improvement. Sir, we're home. The driver had already stopped the car, opened the rear door, and with a reminder, asked the listener to open their eyes. He nodded and got off the car. In front of me is a 2-story beige villa with a single door and courtyard. The car is parked in a small parking lot inside the courtyard, with a blue car parked next to it. A flat path paved with broken flowers and stones leads to the main body of the villa. On the left side of the path is a swimming pool, and on the right side is a glass greenhouse. It is now summer and the roof is open, with some vegetables and fruits planted. Li Gu, that's all for today. Take a good rest, Wen Rensheng said as he walked on the road. Okay, sir. The driver followed behind him. The driver lives with him, and there is a separate house behind the villa. The two of them walked into the villa, and the driver stepped forward to help Wen Rensheng open the door. Just as I opened the wooden red door, I heard a clear and intoxicated chant. When drinking and singing, the geometry of life. For example, in the morning dew, the bitter days go by. Be generous with enthusiasm, and forget your worries. How can you relieve your worries? Only do Kong. The master is drunk again, the driver said and suddenly took a few steps back. Upon hearing Rensheng enter the door and take a look, his eyebrows furrow slightly. I saw a handsome man with a 7-point resemblance to him, looking only 30.5 or 6. He was half collapsed on the L-shaped sofa in the entrance hall, with drunk eyes. On the silver coffee table next to him, there were several cans of Snowflake brand beer lying crooked. It's not a big deal, the key is that there is a slender and beautiful young woman lying on the man's body, with a half-exposed collar. The man seemed oblivious, with a slight expression of pain on his face. He half closed his eyes and recited a short song to himself. Cough. Upon hearing this, I had to interrupt the live broadcast. The woman hurriedly got up and began to tidy up her clothes, explaining, "Sorry, Ashing, I thought you wouldn't come back today." The man finally opened his eyes, stood up crookedly, and greeted Wen Rensheng, saying, "Oh, you're finally back, give me." Upon hearing Rensheng walk over, his face expressionless, he went up and slapped the man in the face, making 2 big slaps. The woman was stunned and quickly shrank her head, hiding aside. Is this to kill chickens and scare monkeys? The man not only didn't get angry, but also showed a joyful expression on his face. It's so comfortable, so reassuring, Dad. Then he fell down on the sofa, making waves of snoring. Sorry, Jing, I surprised you. It may be your first time meeting, and this is a unique way of expressing intimacy in my family. When Rensheng explained to the woman seriously, then held the man against his shoulder with one hand and walked towards a passage on the right side of the hall. At this moment, 2 streams of information flashed through his eyes. Upon hearing people's virtues, the level of mystery is 1/2. Mysterious composition. Superordinary power, mysterious resistance initial, Feng Jingjing, mystery level 0/1. Although Ashing's family style is a bit unique, I can understand. Feng Jingjing's fair and tender face flashed with a strange expression, but she still nodded forcefully. When my son comes home, give him a slap on the face when he comes up. If he doesn't get angry, will he still call his son daddy? It's not too difficult to understand that the father brought a woman home from outside his mother and was beaten by his son, but the scene was too puzzling. Is this the family in the mysterious world? It feels different from what Frost said. I'll go back first, Feng Jingjing said as she thought about it, feeling more and more uncomfortable. She wanted to leave. Brotherly, please give Miss Jing a ride, when Rensheng opened the door of a bedroom and turned around to command. Got it, sir, the driver responded. Feng Jingjing followed the driver Li Shuangyue out of the villa hall. She couldn't help but wonder and said, Brotherly, you should have been following Ashing for some time, right? Well, 3 years ago, I followed the young master who heard people, the driver said sternly. Does their family really have this custom? Feng Jingjing asked. You'll have to get familiar with it sooner or later. If you want to enter this house, the young master is kind and wants you to adapt in advance. The driver paused and said. What if I can't adapt? Feng Jingjing asked curiously. Madam left because she couldn't adapt to this situation. She walked peacefully at the time, the driver gave her an inexplicable smile. Feng Jingjing shivered and walked quickly onto her blue car. You seem to have had some alcohol, let me take you back, the driver said. No, I'll just go out and take a taxi, Feng Jingjing waved her hands repeatedly and quickened her pace. Actually I was joking with you just now, the driver chased after her and explained. Upon hearing this, Feng Jingjing breathed a sigh of relief and patted her chest, saying, I knew today was just a coincidence. Maybe my brother and I went too far. No, I mean, when Madam left, it was very painful. The driver smiled again. Feng Jingjing ran out of the villa gate. Li Shuangyue looked coldly at the other person's hasty departure, and his wife was sure to come back. End of this chapter.